Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dale, and typically what I like to talk about here are funny stories, things that happened to me during the military, things that I saw, um, traveling all over the world especially during Desert Shield and Desert Storm time frame in the late 80s and early 90s to mid 90s. But today's a little bit different. Today I want to talk about Flight 60150 and how that flight affected me. Um, Basically, 60150, if you're not familiar with it, which most people won't be, was a flight that on February the 20th in 1989 crashed just outside of Hulbert Field in Florida. It was out of Norton Air Force Base in Southern California, the 52nd Military Airlift Squadron, which was a squadron I was assigned to. And it killed 7 crew members and 1 passenger died on that aircraft. And how that flight affected me was I was brand new. I had joined the Air Force in October of '88 and went through my technical schools in Altus, Oklahoma, Wichita City, Texas, and I don't believe I had been through I had just finished up my Spokane survival school in Spokane, Washington, when I arrived at my base at Norton. And when I arrived at my base, my first sergeant met me and showed me around, showed me where my room was at, showed me where I could eat and different things. And he told me, he said, I'll be back in a day or two and I'll come get you and we'll take you around and get you all squared in the squadron and everything and get you ready to start flying. And I said, great. And so I was all excited. I mean, this was something new to me. I was 21 years old. I was about to start traveling the world, doing some really fun things, and I was all excited. And then I got the message the next day that the plane had crashed at Hulbert Field, and the only person I knew at that base, the only person I had met yet in my squadron, the only person I knew, period, at that base or had anything to do with the job that I was about to start doing, was just killed in the crash at Hulbert Field. And so I remember, even at 21 years old, I remember calling my parents on the payphone at the dorm there, and because that was before cell phones. I remember calling my parents on the payphone and crying and telling them that I think I might have made a mistake, that I was not sure this was going to be the most best job for me to do, that it literally scared me. And was probably a good thing because it made me much more aware of what could happen, and to be that much more careful of the things that I did on the plane, and to be more careful specifically of the other crew members, specifically the pilots. At the time, I was not a pilot, but I did become a pilot in mid 1990s. So I could not only do the job as loadmaster in the back or an engineer or a pilot myself. So I made sure that I kept an eye on everybody because, quite honestly, I wanted to come home every day. So, but that one really scared me a lot. And let me bring up some pictures and show you here of the crash in the airplane. Now this is tail number 60150. At this time when this picture was taken, it was actually still gray and white. It wasn't when it crashed. It was actually the camo paint scheme, but at this point it was still gray and white. If you look over here under the Air Force, you can see the Thunderbird symbol. So this plane at this time was actually flying in support of the Thunderbirds. Um, now let's flop over here, and here's where it wound up in the swamps outside of Hulbert Field. According to what we know about the flight, it was extremely stormy weather, very, very bad weather, and the co-pilots, they were flying in an approach, an ILS approach, TACAN approach, into, I believe, runway 18. It was at night. It was extremely bad weather, and they ignored the warning system. As a matter of fact, the co-pilot silenced the warning twice during the descent. And they flew below MDA, which was minimum descent altitude of 345 feet, I believe, AGL, above ground level. Well, obviously they did. They crashed into the swamp, but their descent was about 3,000 to 4,000 feet per minute, wings level and nose down when they went in. And so you can see here from the pictures, the tail section, which, by the way, I don't care what people say. When I'm on an airplane, if it's bad weather or I'm on a commercial flight, I always want to sit in the tail. Nobody wants to sit back there, which is great for me because that's where I want to sit. Anytime you look at a plane crash, typically the place that's intact inside the airplane is the tail section. So I always want to sit in the tail. As a matter of fact, in this particular plane crash, you can see the tail section is still intact. And from all indications of the first responders on site, there was seats and everything in the tail. There was still a water cooler still tied down in the back of the airplane without a scratch on it. So potentially, if you were sitting in the back of this plane, you could have survived the crash. But unfortunately, in this case, nobody did. Here's another picture a little bit forward. You can see that in this picture, the left wing had already been removed. It was still somewhat intact in part of the plane crash, but at this point it had been cut off. But forward of the wing, you can see there's nothing left pretty much of the plane. This is looking from the inside of the plane, looking forward towards the cockpit, and you can see it's pretty much gone. This is the front of the plane looking towards the back, and here's the part of the nose section of the plane in the front here, and it's pretty much nothing left. Just another picture from the crash site. But what I was told, I actually had a good friend of mine who was part of the recovery medical recovery team that went in there. He was stationed at Hulbert Field at that time, and he said that there were body parts that were strewn around. It was not good. Nobody survived that crash, unfortunately. And so, but like I said, that crash had a significant impact on me and how I treated my job going forward on that plane, and the safety precautions that I took, not only for my own job, but keeping an eye on the other crew members and what we did. And there were times that during during my career that I got into it with other crew members because I felt things were being done not as safely as I thought they should be. And so I would get into it and always err on the side of safety. So that's it. 60150. All their family members, I wish them, great sorrow. But if anything good came out of that flight, it was the fact that it taught a lot of us to be extremely careful about our job and what we did.